Alright guys, so let us get started with a new function, and that is filter function, right? So in the previous video itself, we were discussing about this filter function that it is going to be a function which will be used again in my calculate function itself. So again, my calculate function will be behaving as a kind of container function for evaluating this value, what exactly we are searching for from our filter function, right? So now let us have a look upon that what do we exactly mean by a filter function. So again, for understanding about filter function, as the name states, you are going to apply and filter to fetch out some important records which you are concerned about. So for example, in your table, if you're having around 1000 number of records, and if you're not interested in those 1000 number of records, and if you want to fetch out the records around 100 to 200 or any number of records which are meeting the condition which you are putting from your side, then on if you want to retrieve those specific records itself or those specific rows only from all of the rows, then for fetching those specific rows, you can go forward with applying this filter function. So this filter function will be applying and filter on the overall table, right? So if you're having a specific table, and then if you want to apply and filter on the overall table, and then after applying that filter, if you want to fetch out only those specific records which are meeting a condition which you are putting from your side, then you can absolutely go forward with this filter function, right? So if we are making the use of this filter function, we already know that we already had this calculate function, right? So this calculate function was already able to evaluate that what exactly should be our what exactly should be those specific rows which we are concerned about from the overall rows that we are having in the table. But now if you are coming up with the filter function, then how exactly this filter function is coming out to be effective more than as compared to that of calculate function. So the reason why filter function comes out to be better than as compared to calculate function, because it goes row by row, right? So again, first of all, before exactly discussing what do we mean by row, if I want to explain you about the filter function in another way, then again, let us go back into our SQL examples that when we are writing a SQL query, and if I want to fetch out some important records from my overall table, then I can make the use of this where clause, right? So this where clause will be helping me out to put some condition, and then on the basis of this where clause, I will be able to put out some important condition. I will be able to put out some condition, and on the basis of that condition of the where clause, I'm able to fetch out the records which are meeting that condition from the table, right? Like for example, if I'm having a table which is giving me the insight about the employee salary, and now if I'm only concerned about those specific employees whose salary is coming out to be greater than 10,000, then in order to fetch out the record of these specific employees who are having their salary greater than 10,000, I can simply write the query as select star from the table name, and I will be putting the condition in where, that where I can just simply show it to you. So I'm going to select all of the records from my table where salary column value should be greater than 10,000, right? So now this query will be helping you out to select all of the records. So record will be the complete row. So you will be able to come up with a new table. You will be able to come up with the new table from your original table. That is table, let us call it as T1, right? So your table is T1. So from table T1, you will be able to come up with a new table which is having the records or the rows wherein the salary in that specific row is coming out to be as greater than 10,000, right? So what exactly you are doing is that by making the use of the where clause, you are putting some condition, and when that condition is coming out to be true, you are able to fetch out some specific rows from all of the rows that are present in your table, right? And that is what exactly this filter function used to do. So this filter function from your given table will be going row by row, right? It will be going row by row, and then in whatever row, filter function will figure this thing out that in this specific row, the salary is mentioned as greater than 10,000, then that specific row will be getting extracted out, or that specific row will be shown, or it will gonna remain in your new table, right? But when the filter function will be going forward with the next row, and then in any of the next row, if it is able to figure out that the salary is not coming out to be greater than 10,000, then that specific row will be getting removed, from the new table, right? So this filter function used to go row by row. It used to check out for the condition. Wherever that row is meeting the condition, that specific row will be now added into your new table, which will be giving the complete insight. But if any of the row is not exactly meeting the condition, you won't be able to see that row in your new table, right? So that's exactly how this filter function used to work. And just because filter function used to go row by row, that's why you can relate it to the iterator function. Right, so filter function used to come out to be a bit similar to that of iterator function, just because you are going row by row and then you are putting the filter. Right, so what exactly is the iterator function, that we are going to discuss about in the next video itself. And we have discussed about the iterator function when we were discussing about all of the 7 categories of function, right? So in that specific video itself, we have discussed about it, that the iterator function used to go row by row, right, to give us some important answers. So just like that iterator, we are going to have this filter function, which is going row by row to get the required records or to get the required rows in the new table, right? Where if the row is meeting the condition, then that would be kept, and those which are not meeting the condition, that will be getting removed from the new table. So now let me go forward with the syntax of filter. So in filter function, first of all, you have to pass on the table name. So table name is going to be that specific table where you want to apply the filter. So just like the example that I was discussing with respect to SQL query, wherein I was applying this where clause with respect to my employee table. But just like that, if you want to apply this filter function onto your employee table, then you can simply pass on that table name as the first parameter. And then as a second parameter, you will be writing what exactly we were writing into our where clause, right? So whatever is going to be that table name column condition you want to put, like this for this table name, that is employee, if I want to put the condition that in the employees table for the salary column, the value should be greater than 10,000. And then if I'm applying this filter, then this filter will be working in an appropriate way to provide me with a new table, wherein this new table is going to be the subset of this table name, that is the employee table. And wherein in my new table, the column that is giving me the inside about salary, that will be having the values greater than 10,000. Right, so that's exactly how this filter function used to work. So instead of putting this, let me show you what exactly do we put over here. So as the first argument, you will be putting the table name, and then in the second argument, you will be writing your filter expression. This filter expression is going to be that condition that you will be putting, right, on the table that you are passing as the first parameter. Right, so that's exactly how this filter function used to work. And now there is an important thing that we have to discuss about, and that is already we had this calculate function which was working on one of the table or one of the measure, right? And it was able to come up with some condition that we can put on that specific measure or on that specific table, right? Then why exactly we are coming across this filter function when we are already having this calculate function? So the major reason why we are making the use of filter function and not exactly the calculate function is because filter function used to go row by row, right? So just because filter function is concerned about each and every single row, and then it is checking that whether if this specific row is meeting the condition or not, and on that basis it is evaluating that whether if this specific row should be kept into my new table or not, or if it should be if it shouldn't be kept in the new row, right? So that's why, just because filter function is going row by row, that's why we used to make the use of this filter function irrespective of already, even if you're having this calculate function, that won't be used, right? But that's why filter function, just because it can handle more complex calculations as well. So definitely you can say this thing from your side, that filter function will be able to handle more complex calculations as compared to calculate function, just because it returns an overall table. That is the first thing that we have seen into its syntax itself. And then secondly, uh, it will be mostly using our iterator function, right? Like it will be mostly using this calculated sumx. So sumx is one of the iterator function, or any of the other iterator function that we are going to discuss about in the next video. But just because it used to go forward with these iterator function, that's why it used to be come out to be more optimal as compared to that of calculate function to provide us the result, right? And definitely, if my filter function is going row by row, then there is going to be a disadvantage that it is going to be slow. It is slow as compared to that of calculate. And why exactly it is slow as compared to calculate? Just because calculate function doesn't really go row by row, right? Calculate function is also responsible for applying some filter, but that is not concerned about going with each and every single row. But just because our filter function is going with each and every single row, that's why it's coming out to be a slow one as compared to that of calculate. Or definitely, if you're having a data set or a file which is not having a large number of data, or if you're not exactly working with big data, then going forward with the filter function is absolutely appropriate. But if you're working with big data, then it is mostly recommended to go forward with the calculate function itself, as you can get a more faster result in that specific case, right? So that is all about our filter function. Now let us look upon the a practical implementation of it so that you will get to know more about it, how exactly it is working, right? So now let me show you the practical implementation by calculating an important measure over here. And I will show you that why exactly we are making the use of filter function, right? And how exactly it is coming out to be an optimal option in some of the measurements, right? So now you can see that we are having this one of the column, which is, first of all, I can simply remove this matrix or, okay, let's not remove it. So in this first matrix that you can see over here, you are able to see that we are getting some overall average price that is $714, right? So this overall average price, which is coming over here, just because first of all, I should keep it in dollars. All right. So this overall average price is coming out to be as $714, which you can see over here. But if now I'm interested in those specific product categories only, which are having their average price greater than 714, then what exactly I can do is that I can simply go forward with the calculate function, right? I can either go forward with the calculate function. I will be simply putting this value. I will be simply putting this measure. That is the overall average price or the total orders, right? I will be putting this measure as total orders, and with respect to this total order, I will be applying the filter in the next parameter that I want only those specific orders where the overall average price is coming out to be, or the average retail price is coming out to be greater than this specific value, that is overall average price. So I will show it to you that how exactly, if we are going forward with the calculate function, then what kind of result we can get. And if we are involving filter into average function, then what kind of result we are getting. So that is something you will be able to see in our new measurement. First of all, let us see that what we are talking about. So let me create a new measure over here. Now this new measure, you have to name it as high order ticket. So now this high order ticket will be calculated for the total orders. Total orders you can call it as, right? So with respect to my total orders, I'm searching for that specific order wherein the average retail price that you can see over here, right? I'm getting the average retail price over here. So I want the average retail price for it to be greater than that of my overall average price, right? That is what I'm looking for, right? Let me show it to you in a more clear format. Let me put this measurement in the next row so that you will get to see what exactly I'm talking about, right? All right. So what I'm calculating over here is not exactly total customers. I'm calculating for total orders, right? So I'm looking into those specific orders, or I'm calculating those specific orders where my average retail price should come out to be greater than that of overall average price, right? This is something I'm trying to calculate. But one thing you will be able to see over here that when I will be calculating it, that is going to be an error, right? So an error you are able to see, and that is showing us that a function placeholder has been used in true false expression that is used as a table filter expression, and that is not allowed, right? So this issue you will be able to see when you are going forward with the high order tickets, when you are going forward with this calculate function. You won't be able to make the use of a measurement for evaluating the value, right? So for example, if I'm putting some condition on the basis of a measurement, you won't be able to put it if you are going forward with the calculate function. And that is the reason why we come across this filter function, right? So if you are not exactly making the use of filter function, then what we can do? So you can simply put the value over here. So if the average retail price is coming out to be greater than 714.43. So if this specific value is coming out over here, then let us see if it is getting evaluated. Okay, so one thing I can do over here, or what exactly I can do over here is that I can simply go forward with, instead of putting this average retail price, I can go forward with my product lookup table, right? I can go forward with my product lookup table, and with respect to this product lookup table, we are having this product price, right? So we're having this product price column, and I'm searching for those specific products which are having its average price greater than 714. So in this specific scenario as well, if I will show you the same kind of value that I want, I want those specific orders wherein the product price should come out to be greater than that of the overall average price, right? So if I'm trying to evaluate this specific value, then you won't be able to see an appropriate value, right? You won't be able to see the measure that you are trying to create. And that's why we have to hard code the value over here, right? I have to put in the value as 714.3. And then on hard coding the value, we are able to come up with the high order ticket. So now this will be giving me those specific orders which are having its product price as greater than our average overall price, right? So let us look upon that. Let us see first of all that whether if it is working absolutely fine or not. So we are looking upon those specific high order tickets. Okay, so we can see that in our bikes, we are having around 11,312 number of orders, which are having its overall price, or wherein the product price is coming out to be greater than our overall average price, right? So I think it's absolutely fine, right? Definitely a bike won't be there. A bike won't come, or a bike would definitely gonna have its price greater than that of $714, right? And that is completely fine. So absolutely, that makes sense what we're getting over here. But one thing I would like to show it to you over here, and that is I was not exactly able to put in that measurement when I was trying to put that comparison, right? I was not exactly able to put that measure, that is the overall average price, when I was trying to put the condition with respect to calculate function. So now I will show you that how we can go forward with the filter function, and with respect to the filter function, how you can put that condition via making the use of this measurement itself. So we have to do the same thing. What exactly I will be doing is that I will be looking for that specific total orders wherein the product price is coming out to be greater than the overall average price. But now for this, I will be going forward with the filter function. So I will be filtering for what is going to be the first parameter. We have to pass on the first parameter as a table. So what is my table over here? So the table over here is going to be, first of all, let me just keep it in the proper format. So what is going to be a table over here? So this table is going to be the product lookup table, right? So this product look, so I'm going to apply the filter on the product lookup table, and then that filter will be applied in that way, wherein with respect to the product lookup table, wherein the product price is coming out to be greater than that of the overall average price. So all of those specific records will now be returned, or only all of those specific orders will be returned via making the use of this function, right? So you can see that at this point, we are able to put this measure for the comparison basis, right? Which we were not able to put when we were making the use of calculate function. First of all, let us see that whether if it is working completely fine or not, or if you're able to get a proper result or not. So I think I've made the proper changes on my high order tickets and still I'm able to get an appropriate value, right? So with respect to your high order tickets, you can see that still by applying the filter function into my calculate function itself, I'm able to put in my measurement for the comparison basis and still I'm able to get the appropriate result, right? I'm not required to hard code the value over here. I'm not required to write $714 over here. I can directly go forward with the measurement, and by putting that measurement as the input, I'm able to see those high order tickets, right? Well, that's exactly how this expression used to work, and that's exactly how we can come up with these important calculations. All right, so this is what something you can do from your side. You can definitely go forward with checking out this filter function. So how you can go forward with row by row and how you can make the use of a measurement for the comparison basis so that you can come up with some complex calculations, right? And so that you don't have to hard code the values. So that would be all in this video, and let us meet in the next video with learning about what do we mean by an iterator function. And then we will be solving some assignments, and then finally we will be discussing about our time intelligence functions. And once we are done with our time intelligence functions and some of the assignments on time intelligence function, then we are absolutely done with our DAX functions. And then we can move forward with our next section, which is the most important section, and that is to create these dashboards, right? So let us meet in the next video, and thank you. All right, guys, so let us get started with our next function, and that is going to be an iterator function. So iterator function is going to be a bit similar to that of the previous function itself, or the concept that was there in the previous function, and that was iterating through each and every single row of the table, right? So in the last function, that is a filter function, we were discussing that how exactly the filter will be applied by iterating through each and every single row of the table, right? So we were iterating through each and every single row of the table. We were looking for the condition to come out to be true. If the condition is coming out to be true, we were simply adding up that specific row into our final table, right? And if the condition doesn't come out to be true for any row, then that specific row will be extracted out from the final table, right? So that's exactly how this operation used to work, or that's exactly how this filter operation used to work. So in a similar way, we will be going forward with the iterator function, right? So with respect to our iterator function as well, we are going to iterate through each and every single row. And now this time we are not exactly checking for a condition, but we are applying an operation, right? So whenever you are going forward with the iterator function, it's not about the condition, but it's about the operation, right? So by operation, what I exactly mean to say is that similarly with respect to iterator function as well, just like the filter function, you are going to iterate through each and every single row. But now for this time, you are not iterating through each and every single row for checking a condition. But for this time, you are applying some operation with respect to each and every single row. And now when you will be iterating through each and every single row, and when you are applying the operation with respect to each and every single row, then finally you will be getting something, and that final value that you are getting, onto that you can apply some additional operation, right? So first of all, let me show you the syntax for the iterator function, or let us simply go forward with the definition so that you will get to know what exactly we are saying. So iterator is same as that of the X function. So in one of our previous videos itself, we were discussing about these multiple set of functions, right? That is around 6 to 7 categories of functions we are having. And we have discussed about this thing that iterator function is just like your X function. So just like your X function, you are going to have this iterator function wherein you are going to iterate, or basically it allows us to loop through the same expression on each and every single row of your table, and then you can apply some sort of aggregation to the results, right? So what exactly you are doing is that you are looping it allows you, let me write it for you, that it allows you to loop through every row of your table and then apply some sort of aggregation to the result. And that's exactly how this iterator function used to work. So what exactly you are required to do is that if you're having around 10,000 number of rows in your table, then you will be iterating through each and every single row out of those 10,000 rows. And then you have to apply an aggregation operation. So we have already discussed about the aggregation, the multiple aggregation operation that we are having. So we are having sum as our aggregate operation. Then we are having something as a count function. In a similar way, we can have max, min, or we can have along with that something as average, right? So these were the aggregate function that we were looking upon in the previous videos as well. But in the case of iterator function, the kind of difference that we are going to see with respect to these aggregate function with an iterator and not with respect to the other different functions is that in terms of iterator function, we are not exactly going forward with sum, but we are going forward with sum x. In a similar way, we are using count x, max x, min x, or average x. And what do I exactly mean by this statement when I'm saying that I am making the use of sum x is that x simply accounts for this phenomena that you are going through each and every single row, right? So in your table, you will be iterating through each and every single row. And then after iterating through each and every single row, you are coming up with the total sum of all of the values that you have iterated through in each and every single row, right? So for example, if I'm having around 1,000 number of rows, now in my 1,000 rows in my table, the first value will be getting added, or the sum I will be taking from first row, then with respect to the second row. Now the sum of the first two rows will now be getting added with respect to my third row, and then that will be getting added through the fourth row, right? So why exactly we are calculating the sum, or why exactly the sum is getting evaluated from each and every single row? That's because the function that you will be making the use of, or the iterator function that you will be making the use of in that scenario is going to be the sum x function, right? So that is one of the major reason why you will be able to evaluate the sum of all of the rows that you are iterating in your table. So x basically accounts for that only. So x is accounting that in this specific scenario, I'm trying to apply the aggregate operation when I will be iterating through every row of the table. So now let me show you the syntax for it. So sum x, I'm providing the syntax as, so you will get to see the similar syntax for count x as well, max x as well, min x as well, or average x as well, right? So the syntax is going to be wherein you will be writing a function name, that is sum x, and then you will be passing the table name. So table name is going to be that specific table in which you want to iterate. Like for example, if I want to iterate through each and every single row of my sales table, then that sales table I will be passing on as my first argument. And then once or as the first parameter, and then once I pass that as my first parameter, the second parameter that I have to pass is going to be the expression. So for example, I will be showing you one of the practical implementation wherein what exactly we will be doing from our side is that in the last previous videos, we were discussing about calculating the revenue, right? So we were taking the column from one of the dimension table, and that column was getting added into our fact table. And after that column was getting added into our fact table, with respect to each and every single row in between the fact table and the dimension table, or with respect, once we have added that column from the dimension table into our fact table, then we were taking the product of the order quantity with respect to that specific value that is there, which is accounting for the retail price, right? So that is something we have seen when we were trying to calculate the revenue, right? When we were discussing about this related function. So that example we will be looking into in this particular, with respect to this particular iterator function as well. But the difference here is going to be in terms of that how exactly we can show you that how practically each and every single row. So for example, in my given sales data table itself, I'm going to have two columns, right? I'm going to have one of the column that is giving us the insight about the average price, or that is giving us the insight about the retail price, right? Or the product cost. And then in the similar row, we are going to have a value which is accounting for the number of product quantity, right? So in the similar row, I will be multiplying the product quantity with respect to its respective retail price. And then once that product is being evaluated, then I will be going forward with the next row, or I will be iterating through the next row, and whatever multiplication, the same kind of multiplication I will be evaluating in between the order quantity and the product price. And then the first value from the first row, that is the first product value from the first row, will now be getting added into the second product price value with respect to order quantity that is there in the second row. And now this summation you will get to see from row to row, right? And this is something you will be able to see. But over here, what exactly I'm mentioning is that I'm taking the product of one column value with respect to other column value that are there in the same row itself. So in order to put that condition that the product we are taking in between the two columns that are there in the same row, that product expression you will be writing in the second parameter, right? So if I need to mention about this thing that I'm going to take the product in between the two column values that are there in my same row, so that is something I can specify in my second parameter itself, right? So whatever condition you want to put in this particular situation, and we were discussing that in the case of iterator function, we are not exactly looking upon putting the condition, but we are looking upon putting the operation. And that operation that I was specifying, this operation is nothing but the expression that you are passing as the second parameter over here, right? So that's exactly how you will get to have the idea that what expression I'm talking about, or what exactly we are considering in this in terms of this expression, right? So I think you might would have already got the idea that what do we exactly mean by a table and what exactly do we mean by the expression, right? So there is no point to write about that. And at the end, and as the function name, you will be mentioning that what exactly is going to be your iterator function. So whether if you want to calculate the sum of all of the values, if you want to calculate the count of all of the values, or max value or min value, whatever aggregation operation you want to apply with respect to each and every single row on which you have iterated through, that you will be mentioning as the function name, right? So this is something you can get via applying or via going forward with this iterator function. And now once you're done with that, let us go forward with discussing about, so we will be looking into the practical implementation after this. But the point is that there is one more thing or one more note you can mention from your, you can look upon from your side, and that is why you are trying to calculate the measurement. We can't actually calculate the measure directly without using an aggregate function, right? And definitely, whenever I'm calculating some measure, you will get to see that you have to associate some sort of aggregate function with respect to each and every single column, right? So that you will be able to see that measurement happening, right? And this is something you might would have already seen in the previous videos as well. As if we are not exactly applying an aggregate function, or we are not associating an aggregate function with respect to any of the column while calculating the measurement, then we won't be actually able to take the reference of that column, right? Without actually considering that specific aggregate function itself. So this is something we will be looking into the practical implementation itself. And now let us directly move into our practical implementation. We will be looking into this fact that why exactly this iterator function is so much important. Why exactly I'm required to take the product of each and every single product category, and then with respect to its retail price, why exactly it's important. As directly I can take the sum of all of the product quantity, and then that sum I can multiply with respect to the sum of, like what exactly I'm mentioning is that I can directly go forward with the sum of product quantity, and then that sum of product quantity I can multiply with respect to sum of the retail price, right? So this is something also I can calculate from my side, right? Ultimately this is also giving me the revenue, the total sum of revenue, right? So this is something also I can do. But why exactly I'm not going forward with this, and what exactly I'm calculating is the product with respect to each and every single row, and then that product which I'm getting, that I'm adding into the next row, and then in that way I'm basically adding each and every single row value so that I can come up with the final sum x value. So why we are going forward with row by row and not exactly taking the sum of the product quantity and sum of retail price? Why we are not considering this? This is something we are going to look upon in our practical implementation. Right, so let us move forward with our practical implementation, and now I will be showing you what do we exactly get by this specific value. That is sum of product quantity and sum of retail price. Right, so let us go forward with the implementation and into my table measure itself. All right, there are some values which I can simply remove from here into the matrix visual. First of all, I can remove my all orders. There is no point to that. Right, total orders we have already seen. Then overall average price also I'm not exactly interested in at this point. Right. Okay. Now let us look upon the values that we are trying to calculate. Right. So into my table measure itself, let me add a new measure. So first of all, I will be showing you that what is the reason why we are exactly going forward with row by row and why we are not exactly taking the sum of all of the rows and that sum I'm multiplying with the sum of all of the rows, right? So if I'm going forward with calculating the total revenue in a way wherein I'm applying the aggregate function, wherein I'm taking the sum of the sales data table, order quantity, and that I'm multiplying with respect to the sum of sales data retail price, right? So what exactly I'm doing is that the total order quantity that is there, like for example, whatever value I'm getting as the order quantity, that overall sum I'm taking, and then that sum I'm multiplying with respect to the total retail price that I'm getting, right? So let us see that what value we are getting and whether this specific value is coming out to be appropriate or not. And then if it is not coming out to be appropriate, then we will be moving forward with our iterator function to get to know that how we can absolutely go forward with this iterator function to get to have the proper value, right? Okay, we haven't closed it. So we have to calculate the sum of this and then this sum will be getting evaluated over here. Okay, we have to take one more parenthesis, right? So sum of the specific value will now be getting evaluated with respect to this value. All right, and let us see that what exactly we are getting as our total revenue now. Okay, so we have calculated total revenue. Let us see what we are getting. Okay, so now you are able to see the total revenue, right? And you can see what kind of value they're getting. I mean, definitely the numbers that you can see on the screen, you won't be able to see such revenue, right? I mean, definitely a company, if it is generating this much amount of revenue, I mean, it's literally impossible to generate such a value, right? But definitely, if you are going forward with directly applying an aggregate operation with respect to all of the values that are present in one column and with respect to all of the values that are present in second column, then such kind of values you can get. And this is the reason why going forward with iterator function is quite important, right? So now just because of that, I won't be going forward with this specific formula just because I'm not interested in getting such kind of quantity, right? So, and yeah, one more thing you can see over here that whenever I'm going forward with any column, I'm applying or I'm associating an aggregate function with respect to that column. As then only I will be able to see an operation that is happening between the multiple columns, right? And then only I will be able to calculate a measurement. So one thing you can see over here that we can't actually go forward with such a formula just because such kind of tremendous kind of value we can get if you're not exactly going forward with the iterator function. And let me now show it to you that how exactly we can calculate by making the use of the sumx function so that we can iterate through each and every single row. So we will be iterating through each and every single row, the appropriate value, that is the appropriate retail price will now be getting multiplied with respect to our specific product key itself, right? Now, one thing you have to make sure from your side is that there shouldn't be a at this point, there is no such requirement to come up with the retail price. As with respect to my table itself, that is giving me the insight about the sales data. Now, with respect to the sales data table, I've already removed my retail price column. So the major reason why I've removed my retail price column is because that retail price was exactly giving us the insight which is there into our product table itself, right? So the insight that is there into my product lookup table, which is giving me the insight about the product price. So that I was trying to relate with respect to retail price, right? But at the end of the day, if I'm making the use of this function that is related function, and that via making the use of this related function, if I'm taking the reference from the product lookup table for the product price, so that I can directly multiply with respect to my order quantity only, right? And that will be again giving me the same value which the retail price was providing us. So there is no such requirement to come up with an additional column, and that's why we can simply go forward with deleting that revenue column, and along with that we can also delete our retail price column, and we can directly take the reference of that specific column, which is the product price from the product lookup table, and that we can directly multiply with respect to our order quantity, so that again we will be able to see the similar kind of value that we were able to see by making the use of retail price column, right? So let us jump into the measurement, and let us see what value we are getting when we are going forward with the sumx function, right? So let me now create a new measure over here. And now I'm going to name my new measure as total revenue, right? Just because what exactly we are doing is that we are iterating through the complete sales data table. And at this point, you will be able to see that not even with a single table, but you will be able to iterate through multiple tables in the use of sumx function. So what exactly I'm calculating at this point is that we are calculating the total revenue, right? So now this total on this, while calculating this total revenue, I'm making the use of sumx function. I'm iterating through the sales data table. And then from my sales data table, I will be going forward with row by row to get to have the insight about the product or the order quantity, right? So from the sales data table, I will be going forward with row by row from the order quantity column, and that will be getting multiplied with respect to row by row value that is there in my table, that is product lookup table. So as soon as you're going to make the use of this related function, you will be able to see all of the columns which are there, right? All of the columns or all of the tables which are associated in one-to-many relationship with respect to my fact table, and that is the sales data table, right? So already you will be able to see each and every single table shown over here. So just because at this point we are interested in the product lookup table, and with respect to the product lookup table, I'm looking forward to the column which is giving me the insight about the product price, right? And now we can simply go forward with this multiplication. Let me explain this to you again. Via making the use of this sumx function, we are iterating through the table, that is sales data table. I will be going forward with row by row for getting the insight about the order quantity, and that order quantity row by row value will be getting multiplied with the product lookup table row by row value with respect to the product price. And then at the end of the day, when we are coming up with the proper product in between product price and the order quantity, then it will be getting added with respect to each and every single row, just because at the end, at the as a function name is over here as a sumx function. So ultimately you will be able to come up with the sum of all of the row value that you are iterating over here, right? That's exactly how you can go forward with the total revenue. You can keep it in a dollars format, just because we are taking the value or the revenues being generated in dollars itself, just because it is a US data. Right, let me show it to you by simply plotting this value. Okay, one thing you can do, you can simply keep the format as dollars. You have to drag and drop it over here. Right? And we're getting some value, right? We're getting some total revenue value. And as soon as I'm going forward with this total revenue and I'm keeping it in dollars format, and then there is no such requirement to come up with these many number of decimal points, so I can simply keep it as up to 0 decimal point, right? All right, so now we are getting some appropriate value over here, right? We are able to see the total revenue getting generated in an absolute manner. So this is going to be the proper value that you can generate whenever you are going forward with making the use of the sumx function. So this sumx function is showing you some important details that first of all, there is no such requirement to go forward with row by row of the same table itself, as by making the use of the related function, you can go forward with row by row from two different tables as well. That will also work, right? So that's exactly how you can come up with the total revenue. And one more insight, we can show it to you over here, and that is the average revenue per customer. Okay, might would have been not come up to 0. Okay, we're done with this, and now let me show it to you, the new value that we are going to generate, and that is going to be the average revenue per customer, right? So you can create a new measure from your side. Let us go forward with table measure. Let us create a new measure over here. So the difference you can see, right? The difference you can see in terms of the value that we were getting previously. So previously, when we were trying to come up with the sum of all of the order quantity, and then when I was multiplying it with respect to my retail price, so you were able to see a kind of tremendous value getting generated. But at this point, you are able to see an appropriate value getting associated, and this seems a quite believable kind of value, right? So definitely, you will be able to see an appropriate value getting associated with respect to total revenue if you're going forward with sumx. And by using sumx, you can definitely iterate through multiple tables as well, which we have shown you, right? And now let us go forward with calculating the average revenue per customer. So I have to make the use of this divide function, and by going forward with this divide function, we can simply divide our total revenue, which we have just calculated, with respect to the total number of customers we are having, right? So in the numerators, I'm going to keep this value, and now in my denominator, I want total number of customers. And now this will be giving me the insight about the average revenue per customer, right? And I can simply plot it over here if I want to. So what revenue you are getting as the average revenue per customer, that is something you can get. First of all, you can click on this dollars option to keep the proper format. It's because we want this insight to be shown in US dollars, right? And then you can always go forward with clicking on this option. That is, I want 0 decimal places. All right, and now we're able to see an appropriate value, right? What is the average revenue that we're getting from per customer? That is something you can see. All right, so this is how exactly we can go forward with sumx or the iterator function. So iterator function will be helping you out in this way only, wherein you can iterate row by row. You can take the product, you can apply the expression with respect to every row, and then you can apply the aggregation operation on it, so that you can come up with such important measurement, right? And you can simply delete some specific columns as well if you want to, which we have shown you already. That's because we are having this such kind of great function like iterator function, right? So now we will be meeting you in the next video with the assignment with respect to the iterator function and the solutions of those assignment in the next upcoming video. And then finally, we will be talking about the time intelligence function. And then we are done with this section, right? So let us meet in the next video, and that would be all. So thank you. All right, guys, so let us get started with our seventh assignment on iterator functions that we have discussed in the previous video itself. So let us go forward with each and every single key objective. So the first key objective is asking us to create a new measure with the name as total cost that simply multiplies the order quantity in the sales data table by the product cost in the product lookup table, and then it calculates the sum. So similar approach you have to apply just like the previous example we were discussing in the previous video itself. That is, in that specific scenario, we were calculating the total revenue by taking in the reference with respect to the product price and with respect to the order quantity. But in this specific case, you don't have to take product price, but you have to take the product cost, right? So similar approach is going to be there, just the difference in column is going to be there, right? And then you will be able to come up with the total cost. Now, with respect to the second key objective, you have to create a new measure with the name as total profit, that is revenue minus cost, right? So, if you're selling your particular product at $10, and then if you are able to generate a revenue from it, that is $20, then revenue minus cost is going to be the profit that you are earning, right? So that is how exactly we used to come up with the total profit. So profit is going to be $10 over here. So that is an example how you can come up with the total profit. So for here, what you can do is that you can simply make the use of the subtraction operation in between the revenue measure and the cost measure, right? And that will be giving you this new measure that is going to be the total profit. So it's a kind of pretty basic one. And then the third key objective is asking you to create a matrix to show the total profit values in the value section by the year in the rows section, right? So at this point, you won't be considering the category name from the product lookup table in the rows, but you are going to consider the multiple year that is there in the calendar lookup table. That is something you will be showing in the rows section, and you will be associating the values as the total profit earned in these years, right? And then you can come up with this answer that how much profit has the company earned so far in 2022. So this insight the company is asking to us, right? And you have to deliver this insight by simply looking into the matrix visual. So it's a kind of pretty basic one. Definitely you will be able to solve it. And if you are not able to solve it, you can simply look forward to the previous video itself that we were discussing regarding the iterator functions, and then it will be a pretty basic one for you, right? So let us meet in the next video with the solution of these key objectives, and that would be all in this assignment tutorial. So thank you. All right, so let us jump into the solutions of these key objectives. So first of all, we have to create a new measure with the name as total cost that is delivering us the insight by the multiplication of the order quantity in the sales data table with respect to the product cost that is there in the product lookup table, right? And then you have to calculate the sum. So ultimately, our iterator function is going to be sumx function. We have to, our expression is going to be the product in between the order quantity from sales data with respect to the product cost that is there in the product lookup table, and the table that we have to take input over here as the first parameter is going to be my sales data table, right? So let us jump into Power BI. Let us calculate this measurement, and let us see whether if we are able to come up with a proper answer, right? Click on the table, click on new measure. Then you can click on total cost as the measure name as per the requirement, right? We have to take the sum at the end. So that's why sumx function I'm making the use of. Sales data I'm going to take the reference as, and then the expression we have to pass is going to be the product in between sales data table, that is the order quantity, right? So order quantity you have to multiply with respect to the product lookup table. So for taking the reference from product lookup table from the sales data table, you have to make the use of related function, right? So now all of the tables you can see which are being associated in one-to-many relationship with respect to my sales data table. So I'm going to look forward to the product lookup table, and I will be taking in the reference of the product cost, right? So sumx function will be going forward with row by row from sales data table, and it will be taking in the reference of order quantity from each and every single row, and then that specific row value, that is the order quantity, will be getting multiplied with respect to the product cost in the same row. And then each and every single row will be getting summed up or will be getting added up just because the aggregate function we are making the use of, or the iterator function we are making the use of, is SUMX. Right? So let us look into the value of total cost. Okay, let us plot this value. And again, you have to make sure that you shouldn't be using that the value should be shown in proper dollars format. This format you always should make sure from your side, right? And you can keep it in zero. That is basis, right? And now we are able to see the total cost. So one thing you can see over here, and that is you are able to come up with the total revenue and you are able to come up with the total cost as well. And then if you want to generate this insight at what is the total profit you are generating, then you have to simply go forward with the difference in between the revenue and the cost, and that will be giving us the insight about the total profit. But one more thing was mentioned in our objectives, that we have to create a matrix wherein we will be looking into the total profit with respect to years as rows, right? So that's why I will be going forward with my category name. I want to be using this category name as my rows, and I will be going forward with year, right? So from the calendar lookup table itself, you are going to have one of the column that is giving you the insight about the year, right? And some of the important insights you can see over here in 2020, what was the revenue we were generating in, and what was the total cost was there, right? So absolutely revenue is going to be greater than cost if the company is coming out to be in profit. But if the cost is coming out to be greater than revenue, then definitely the company is not in profit, right? And in order to see what is the exact profit the company is generating, for that, let us go forward with our second key objective, and that is to create a new measure which is giving us the insight about total profit as revenue minus cost. Right, let me click on table measure. Let us go forward with new measure. Let us name this measure as total profit. We have to take the subtraction of total revenue and total cost, right? And now you will be able to see the total profit that the company is able to generate. All right, let me just show this value on the visual itself. Okay. First of all, we can remove some values which are not important at this point. We can simply go forward with the removal of average retail price, high order ticket, that is not exactly required right now. What exactly we're interested in at this point is to simply go forward with the total revenue, right, that the company was generating. That is the first thing I want to look upon. Second thing, I want to look into the total cost. And finally, I want to see the total profit. Okay, again, total profit is not exactly having the values associated decimal places as zero. Okay, we can make the changes. We have to keep it in dollars. Every time you have to make this change, right? Okay, total cost is being kept like that. Total profit, you have to make the changes into. So in total profit, you have to keep it in the dollars format. And then the decimal places, you will be keeping it as zero. Okay, we are done with this. Let us see what we are getting. Okay, so in the year 2020, we were generating the revenue that you can see on the screen. And then what was the total cost that we were generating? That is also something you can see on the screen, right? And okay, total cost is again including these VAT, that is a decimal places. That is not something we are interested in. Let us remove that. All right. So what is the total revenue that the company was generating? You can see it was around two. So total revenue that the company has generated till now, in the year of 2022, right? We are interested in the year of 2022. So company was generating the revenue that is 91 lakhs 85,449 dollars in the year 2022. The total cost which the company has spent from its side is coming out to be as 52 lakhs 96,420 dollars. And what is the profit that the company has generated in the year of 2022 is 38 lakhs 89,029 dollars, right? So you can see this inside. Definitely the maximum profit that the company has generated was in the year of 2021. But absolutely, we are not exactly looking into a kind of significant difference in 2021 and 2022. Definitely a significant increase we can see from 2020 to 2021. So that seems like a kind of good insight, right? A kind of increase we can see in the profit of the company. And that is a kind of good call for the company, right? So all of these important insights, you can see all of these important measures you can create via making the use of this SUMX function. And that would be all in the solution walkthrough of this assignment. And let us meet in the next video with the final function category. And that is with respect to the time functions, right? So that would be all in this video. And let us meet in the next video with the discussion about the time intelligence functions. So thank you. All right, guys, so let us get started with our final function category, and that is regarding the time intelligence function. So we haven't actually explored a function up till now that is giving us the insight about the changes. So for example, if I'm trying to figure out the change in the revenue with respect to the previous month, then what is the revenue we are earning month by month? Like the sum of the revenue with respect to the previous month and the current month. In a similar way, if I want to go forward with evaluating the performance of the revenue, like, so if I want to simply go forward with figuring this thing out, that what is the change in the revenue I can come up with respect to month by month, and what was the revenue I was earning in the previous month, and then if I'm interested in getting this idea that in the last 10 days, or in the last 10 months, what was the revenue I was earning, you know? So if I want to come up with these important insights, right? So if I'm basically concerned about getting some important insights with respect to a specific time period, right? So whenever you have to calculate the insights with respect to a time period, then you will be making the use of these time intelligence functions, right? So you can call out these functions as time intelligence function, or you can call it out as time intelligence patterns, right? Which will be ultimately helping you out to come up with these answers, or to come up with these insights that what is the complete statistics associated with respect to a time period, right? So you can go month by month, you can go day by day, you can go year by year. All of those important insights you will be able to come up with if you are making the use of these time intelligence patterns, right? So these intelligence patterns will be helping you out to come up with for the calculation of common date based comparisons, right? Okay, so these important insights you can come up with if you are making the use of this time intelligence patterns. So definitely we will be looking into a lot of examples, a lot of practical implementation we will be going forward with, so that you will get to know that how exactly these time intelligence patterns used to work. And definitely, not even in this specific case, as in this specific case or with respect to our use case, we are working with an e-commerce data, right? So an e-commerce data which is delivering the insights with respect to a company's data. What is the company's sales data? What is the revenue the company is generating? What is the complete profit the company is generating? But even if you're working with some other important insights, like let us go with a situation wherein you are working with a data set which is giving you the insights with respect to sports players, right? So if you're interested in looking forward to the performance of a player with respect to a particular time period, Like with respect to previous month, if you want to evaluate the performance of this player, or in last 10 years, what was the performance of the player month by month. So if you want to come up with these important insights as well, then you will be going forward with these time intelligence patterns. So whenever you are concerned about the insights with respect to a specific time period, or with respect to the change in time period, then you can definitely go forward with these functions that we are going to discuss about, right? So let us discuss about the function, what all syntax we are having, and then we will be going forward with the practical implementation. So definitely it is going to, the syntax is going to be a bit difficult for you out of the functions that we have discussed up till now, just because the name of the functions is quite, it's quite complicated. Like, let me go forward with the first function itself, but definitely as more you will practice, more you will get to know, more you will become familiar with these functions, right? So the first function will be helping us out to get the insight about the performance to date, right? So till this particular date, what was the performance of the player, right? These important insights you can come up with. In a similar way, if you want to calculate that, what is the total revenue the company is earning till this specific date. So you can go month by month, you can go year by year, you can go quarter by quarter. So how exactly the change is happening in terms of earning a revenue, that important insights you can come up with if you are going forward with this function, that is performance to date. And let me show you the syntax for it. So syntax again will be making the use of the container function, that is the calculate function. And now in the calculate function, the first parameter that you will be passing is going to be that specific measure which you want to evaluate, right? Like whatever measure you want to evaluate from your side, that is something you are going to pass on as the first parameter. And then how exactly that specific measure should be evaluated with respect to time period, that is something you will be mentioning in the second parameter. So we have to calculate the total measure. So I can just simply instead of keeping it in square bracket, I think up till now you might be aware about this thing, that whenever you are mentioning some measure, you have to keep it in square brackets, right? And if you are just getting started with putting the first square bracket, you will get to see all of these measures that you have created in your DAX formula itself. So first of all, the first parameter that you have to pass is going to be that specific measure which you want to calculate in terms of time period. And now the second parameter is going to be date SYTD. And then in that specific function, so this function actually accounts for the time intelligence function, right? So this, inside this function, you will be passing on that specific column, that is a date column. So from whatever table you are having that specific column, you can simply pass it on over here, right? And what exactly the insight you can get from this date SYTD is going to be for years. So what was the performance of a player year by year, like how exactly the performance of the player is changing year by year. If you want to calculate that, then you can make the use of date SYTD, right? So YTD stands for year to date. In a similar way, just like dates SYTD, you can have dates SMTD as well. So for dates SMTD, MTD stands for month to date. In a similar way, you can have your final function as well, that is giving me the insight about the QTD, and that will be giving you the insights with respect to quarter to date. So in this way, you can come up with these insights, right? You can simply calculate the performance with respect to a specific measure. If you want to go forward with year by year, if you want to go forward with month by month, or if you want to go forward with date by date or quarter by quarter, right? So all of these important insights you will be able to come up with if you are making the use of the specific performance to date option, right? So definitely, if I want to go forward with calculating the revenue in terms of month by month, year by year, or date by date, then I can make the use of this. Just like the example we were discussing, that let us go forward with a particular cricketer, and then if you want to calculate that, what is the strike rate of that cricketer in terms of month by month, or whatever performance measure you are making the use of, and you want to simply figure this thing out, that how exactly that specific performance metric is changing for that specific player with respect to a time period, then you can definitely go forward with this specific function, that is performance to date, right? So then if I want to go forward with my next function, then I will be mentioning it as my previous period, right? So previous period is going to be the second function, which will be giving you the insight that how exactly the revenue is getting changed with respect to the previous period. That means if I'm in month of February, then what was the revenue I have generated in the month of January? So if I want to show this detail in the same row, right? So one row, so in a given row, I am able to see the value that what is the revenue I have generated in the month of February, and in the same row itself, the second column is giving me the insight that what was the revenue I have generated in the previous month, right? So in order to come up with these important insights as well, you can again go forward with this period function, right? Previous period function. So if you want to go forward with previous month, 1 month, or previous 10 months, or previous 10 years, whatever you want to go forward with, you can simply specify by making the use of this function itself, right? So again, our container function will be used over here. You have to specify the measure, what measure you want to evaluate as the first parameter you will be specifying over here. Once you have specified that, the second parameter you are going to make the use of is going to be date add. So in this date add itself, you are going to pass on the first column that is going to give you the insight about the date. So whatever table is consisting of that specific date column, that you have to specify as the first parameter over here. So with respect to our use case, we are, or with respect to our CSV files, we were making the use of this calendar lookup table, which was having this date column, right? So I will be going forward with that specific column itself whenever I want to come up with the time intelligence pattern, right? So that specific column only you will be making the use of if you want to calculate the performance, right? So first parameter in the date add you will be passing as the column name, and then the second parameter is going to be that how exactly you want to see the change. Like for example, if I'm passing the second parameter as -1, then you will be able to see the performance, or you will be able to see the revenue getting changed with respect to previous 1 month value. Like in the third parameter itself, I can pass on that whether if I want to go forward with month by month, if I want to go forward with year by year, or if I want to go forward with date by date, quarter by quarter, right? So the third parameter is ultimately going to be that specific value itself. So if you want to evaluate the performance with respect to month or year or quarter, that is something you can specify in your third parameter, right? Then if you want to go forward with one previous value, like one previous month or two previous month or three, whatever the value is, that you can specify as your second parameter, right? So that is something how you will be coming up with a previous period. We will be exploring about these functions a lot so that you will be getting a kind of quick hands-on on it, right? And then finally, we are going to have come up with the running total. So for example, if I'm interested in evaluating the performance of the player with respect to the last 10 days, right? So what was the performance of the specific player in terms of last 10 days or 10 months or 10 years, right? Or let us go forward with 15 number of, let us go forward with 20 days. In last 20 days, what was the performance of this player? So that if that insight you want to get, then again, you can come up with this new function, and that is going to be the running total. So what is the running total performance of the specific player with respect to that specific time period that we are passing on as a parameter? If you want to evaluate that, you can simply go forward with our third function, and that is going to be to calculate the measure, wherein you have to make the use of the function as dates in period. So in dates and period, you will be specifying that what is exactly going to be your specific period. Like if you want to go forward with the last 10 days, 10 months, 10 years, or 15 days, whatever the value is, that you have to specify over here, right? So first parameter is again going to be that date column. Secondly, you have to pass on the max value. So we will be looking into that what exactly do we mean by the specific max value, and the inside this max value, again, you have to pass on the parameter as the column name, which is that dates column itself. And then finally, you have to pass on the final value, and that is going to be that specific value. Like I was telling you that you can come up with the insights with respect to last 10 days. You can keep it as last 15 days also, 20 days also. That is completely up to you, right? So let me go forward with the last 10 days. All right, so that's why I'm passing -10 over here. All right, minus simply give us this insight that we are going forward with the last 10 days, right? The previous 10 days. So that's why I'm putting -1 over there, minus value over there. And just because I'm going day by day, so that's why I will be passing as day over here. If I want to go forward with year by year as well, month by month as well, then I can put month or year instead of this day, right? So this is going to be our complete functions. Like, so these are the three functions which you have to take care about. That is the performance to date, previous period, and the running total, right? So these functions only we will be exploring in the practical implementation as well, and in our next set of assignments as well. Definitely, it's a kind of bit difficult or a kind of bit complicated with respect to the previous functions that we have discussed up till now. But definitely, with respect to the practical implementation, you will get to have a kind of quick hands-on with it, right? A kind of strong hands-on you will be able to get if you are practicing out these formulas from your side, right? So let us jump into the practical implementation of it, and let me get started with creating my first measure, which is giving me the insight with respect to year to date revenue, right? So how exactly the revenue is getting changed with respect to year by year if I want to evaluate that, or performance to date if I want to calculate. So for that, let me go forward with naming it as YTD, that is year to date. I need to make the use of calculate function to calculate that measure. So what exactly I want to calculate over here is going to be the total revenue, right? So the first parameter again, when as soon as you're going forward with clicking, or as soon as you are going forward with entering the first square bracket, you will get to see that how your value is getting changed, right? Just because I want to evaluate the total revenue over here, that's why the first parameter I will be passing on over here as the total revenue itself. And now the second value that I have to pass over here is going to be that specific column, right? So now the function I'm going to make the use of, if it is date sytd. So now this date sytd will be giving me this insight that how exactly the value is getting changed with respect to year by year, right? And then I have to pass on that column, that is the date column from my table, that is calendar lookup table, right? Let us pass it over here. Let us see that how exactly we are able to get the year to date kind of evaluation or performance just because of this date sytd function that we have made the use of. Let us click enter. Okay, it is being created. And definitely if I want to show this insights, then I want to be going forward with this specific row, and I will be making the use of start of month. Start of month will be giving you much better insights at what is the total revenue you are generating, what is total cost you are evaluating. Every insight you will be able to get, right? So in the rows, you can keep the value as start of month itself, right? And then in the value section, you will be passing on the values as the changing total revenue or YTD we have just calculated, right? And now let us see what we are getting. All right. Yeah, one more thing you have to do, again, some kind of formatting you have to do from your side with respect to year to date. You have to keep it in the dollars format, and the number of decimal places you have to specify over here is going to be zero, right? But definitely, I don't want to see this such kind of large value, and you are able to get the values at how exactly the value is getting changed with respect to month by month, right? So how the total revenue is getting changed with respect to each and every single month. So what was the revenue you have generated in the first month in the year of 2020? And what is the revenue you came up with in the month of February, March? So each and every single insight you can come up with, right? And now you one more insight you can see over here, and that is as soon as you are changing the value, as soon as you are coming up with a change in value from the one year to some another year, like if I'm coming from the year of 2020 to 2021, then you can see that the values are not values are getting started from the starting itself, right? So what do I mean by that? This is that whenever I'm going forward with date sytd, so you will get to see the values getting changed or the measure getting changed with respect to month by month, with respect to a specific year itself. So if I'm going forward with the year of 2020, so you will be able to see the changes happening with respect to that specific year itself. And then if I'm going forward with calculating the complete performance with respect to the second year, then the complete calculation will be happening with respect to that second year itself. Right. So this is something how you can come up with these important measurements, and definitely you will be able to see the changes happening with respect to as soon as we are going to transition from 2021 to 2022. As you can see a kind of increase, right? You can see a kind of increase in the complete revenue till the month of, uh, till the year of 2021. And as soon as we are passing from the year of 2021 to 2022, again, the values are getting started from scratch, right? So that's how this dates SYTD used to work. So just because you're making the use of dates SYTD over here, that's why I'm able to see the values getting started from year to year, right? If I would have been made the use of this date SQTD, then with respect to quarters, I would have been seeing the values getting changed with respect to quarter by quarter, right? So that's exactly how I can come up with these values, and that is going to be the first function, the practical implementation that we have just discussed right now. Let us go forward with some more important calculations, and that is the second function that we were discussing, that is the previous month insight if I'm interested in. So let us create the new measure over here, which is giving me the insight about the previous month itself. So let me name my new measure over here as previous month revenue, right? All right, and then you have to calculate your total measure, or the measure is going to be total revenue. And now this total revenue you have to simply evaluate on the basis of month by month, right? So the function you have to make the use of, we have already discussed about it, that is going to be date add, right? So this function I will be making the use of, and the column I have to pass is going to be that calendar lookup date column, right? Okay, and just because I'm interested in getting the insight about the total revenue with respect to the previous month, so that's why the next parameter I will be passing on as -1. And just because I want to go, so yeah, one thing you can see over here, that is a suggestion which is given by Power BI. So either you can go forward with month by month, quarter by quarter, year by year, or day by day. That is completely up to you. Just because we want to go forward with month by month, that how exactly the revenue is getting changed month by month. So that's why I'm going forward with this month option. Now, once I'm done with this, let me close the brackets and let us see that how exactly the previous month revenue is getting changed. Okay, let us drag it and drop it. All right. So yeah, again, some formatting change. Every time you have to do this thing, right? You have to keep it in dollars, and the decimal places you have to keep it in zero. All right, so you can see the values over here that in the month of January 2020, we were getting the complete revenue that was around $5,85,313. And now in the same row itself, as I was mentioning, that you will be able to get the values that is giving you the insight about the revenue that you have earned in the past 2 months. Along with that, in the same row itself, you can get the insight that about the revenue that you have earned in the previous month, right? So from this specific insight, you can come up with, you can simply show it to the stakeholders that how exactly the change is happening, how exactly you're either coming up with the increase in revenue, or if you're coming up with a decrease in revenue. That's because in the same row itself, showing the insights about the revenue that you are earning with respect to previous months definitely can come up with an important insight for the stakeholders that whether if you're coming up with an increase in revenue or decrease in revenue, right? So that's why these numbers are quite important over here. And that is one of the major reasons why these time intelligence functions are quite important, right? So one more thing the company is asking us at this point, and that is we have to calculate the total revenue. If and we want that the revenue should be getting increased month by month with respect to 10%, right? So for example, in the first month, if the company has earned a revenue of around 1 lakh, then the company wants that in the second month they should earn a revenue of 1,10,000, right? So 10% increase they want from their side, right? Month by month. And just because from our side, what we can do is that we can simply show them that if the company is able to earn the revenue, earn the increase in the revenue with respect to 10% month by month, then what exactly we can do is that we can simply multiply this previous month revenue with respect to 1.1, right? And that column will be showing us that what is our target revenue going to be. Just because as per the company, the target is going to be to come up with the 10% increase in the revenue, right? So we can simply multiply this 1.1 value with respect to our previous month revenue if I want to simply go forward with calculating my target revenue, right? So again, click on the table, go forward with the new measure option, and now you have to come up with the target revenue that is going to be the previous month revenue which you have just calculated, and that you have to multiply with 1.1. And that will be giving you the insight about the target revenue as per the company's requirement. And let us see this value shown over here. Again, formatting change, keep it in dollars, keep the decimal places as 0. All right, so now you can see our target revenue. So what is the revenue the company is able to earn, or what was the previous month revenue, right? And what was the target revenue? So in the same row itself, this insights you can provide to the company, right? So you can see over here itself that why exactly we are making the use of this time intelligence functions. As time intelligence function is giving us the insight month by month or year by year, and these insights are quite important just because company always go forward with looking forward to the revenue month by month. So that's why delivering these insights are quite important, right? So that's why we are making the use of these functions, right? And then let us go forward with our final function, and that is going to be to come up with the insights with respect to last 10 days rolling period. So if I'm interested in looking forward to that max to max in the last 10 days, what is the revenue I'm earning? So kind of sum up value with respect to last 10 days if I want to come up with in terms of revenue. And for that, we can go forward with our third function that we were discussing about, and that is dates and period. So let me quickly show it to you. We are going to come up with the 10 days rolling period revenue. Let us go forward with our calculate function. We have to calculate the metric that is going to be total revenue, right? And we have to make the use of function that is dates in period. So already you are able to see the suggestion from Power BI side, and let us pass on our column over here. That is going to be the date column. So calendar lookup column is having the date column. That is the first parameter that we are passing. Then we have to pass on the next value that is going to the max value. So you will be able to see that why exactly I'm passing the max value over here as my second parameter when I will be showing you the implementation of it. All right, and just because I'm interested in the last 10 days rolling period, so that's why minus 10 I will be passing. And I'm interested in days, so that's why day is going to be the final parameter I have to pass. So now we are done with this. So max is done over here. Then we have to pass on this. All right. Then I have to close this max value as well. And now we will be able to see the insight regarding the last 10 days rolling period revenue, right? Okay, let us quickly drag it and drop it. Let us see what we are able to get. Okay, again, some formatting change we have to bring in. We have to keep it in dollars. We have to keep the decimal places as 0. Right? And now you can see that what is the 10 days rolling period revenue the company is generating. So one thing you can see over here that till this date, so starting from this specific date, that is, if I'm going forward with date by date itself, I'm not going forward with the start of month, right? So in order to show you these details, I think it is quite important to show in the rows section, that is the date column, right? So from the calendar lookup table, let us go forward with the date column itself. And now we will be able to come up with some more important insights, right? So at this point, you can see that when I'm going forward with 10 days rolling period, this revenue, you are able to see that what was the revenue you were earning on the first day of 2020 in the first month, and what was the revenue you were generating max to in the second day. And then that max value was quite important just because we are specifying one thing, that what is the revenue I want to come up with is going to be max to max 10 days, right? So when I'm done with this specific measurement till starting from 1st of January till 10th of January in 2020, then for calculating the revenue for 11th of January, the values will be getting evaluated from 2nd of January till 11th of January. Just because these are the max to max 10 days, right? Similarly, for 12th of January, we will be evaluating the performance from 3rd till 12th. That's because we need to come up with the 10 days rolling period revenue, right? So that's how we have to specify that max value over there. So these are giving you the insights about the last 10 days rolling period revenue, and you are able to see the important insights. And definitely you can deliver these insights to the stakeholder as well, as these are quite important insights, right? So this is all about the last function category that we were discussing about. In the next videos, we will be discussing about these practical implementation assignments itself. And once we are done with these assignments, we are absolutely done with our DAX functions. And then we can move on to our final section. That is the most important section, and that is report building. So that would be all in this video, and let us meet in the next video. So thank you. All right, guys, so let us look into our final assignment from this section, and that is regarding the time intelligence functions that we were discussing about. So these following measures you have to come up with in your model, and that is, first of all, you have to come up with the previous month's returns. So already we have discussed about this function that is giving us the insight about the total revenue that the company was generating with respect to previous month. So we already have come up with that specific calculation. Now we have to calculate the previous month returns. Then we have to come up with the previous month orders. And then we have to come up with the previous month profit. So just a change in the measurement you have to do in the first parameter, and then the same function you will be making the use of. That is date add, and then you will be able to come up with these answers, right? Then the next thing you have to calculate is going to be the order target. Again, 10% increase with respect to previous month. So you have to multiply 1.1 with respect to that specific previous month orders. Then profit target, again, you have to multiply 1.1 with respect to that measurement which you have just created right now. And that is the previous month profit. And then finally, you have to come up with the 90 days rolling profit, right? So at this point, I'm not exactly, or we are not exactly focusing upon the last 10 days profit, but we are focusing upon last 90 days rolling profit. That is up to 3 months, right? So as soon as we are going to transition from 90 days to 91 days, then from the second day onwards, the profit will be started to getting evaluated, right? So this is something you have to come up with in these key objectives, and it's a kind of bit easy one, right? If you have watched a previous video. And let us move forward with our next video. And in the next video, we will be discussing the solution of these assignments, right? So let us meet in the next video, and that would be all in this video. So thank you. All right, guys, let us move forward with the solution of this key objective. So the first key objective is asking us to come up with the previous month returns, right? So let us jump into Power BI to look into the solution of it. So the first key objective is asking us to come up with the previous month returns, right? All right, so let us go forward with that specific function itself. That is date add. Let me add in the table measure. That is a new measure. And let me name my measure as previous month returns. So we have to calculate the total returns measure, and we have to add the date for our calendar lookup table date column. And then we have to pass on the next parameter, and that is going to be my -1 value just because I want to evaluate the performance with respect to previous month. And then finally, we want to go forward with month by month, right? So now in this way, we will be able to come up with this answer to calculate the previous month returns. Let us create a new matrix over here. Let us delete this matrix. And now with respect to our new matrix that we are having, let us drop the values into our rows, which is involving the values with respect to month by month, right? So into my rows, I want to keep the values from my calendar lookup table. That is the last month, start of month, right? And what exactly I want to evaluate over here, that is going to be my previous day returns, right? Revenue, previous month returns, yeah. Let us drag it, drop it again yeah. So you can see that what was number of returns I was getting from each and every single month, right? So this insight you can see over here. All right, so this is going to be the first thing that we need to look upon. Now the second measure is asking us to come up with the previous month orders. Again, the same criteria you have to follow from your side. You have to simply make the use of, you have to simply come up with the new measure. So more you will practice, more you will become familiar with these formulas, as this formula is a kind of bit, requires a kind of practice, right? So you have to come up with the previous month orders. You have to make the use of this calculate function. Now this calculate function will be evaluating your total orders, right? And now with respect to this total orders, what exactly I want to come up with is, so I want to calculate these total orders in terms of previous month, right? So I will be making the use of this date add function. Inside this, I will be passing on the calendar lookup date column. And then I will be mentioning my next parameter, and that is okay. So you can see the expression which is giving you the insight, right? The first thing you have to pass on as the dates. Next, inside you have to pass on as the number of intervals, that is -1. And then finally, what is the interval you have to specify? Month by month, we want to go. Let us close the bracket. Let us click enter, and we will be able to see these insights, right? Previous month orders we came up with. Let us drag it and drop it. Month by month idea you can get that what is the complete previous month orders you were getting, right? And now let us calculate the next metric, and that is previous month profit. Again, the similar formula we need to make the use of. Let us go forward with our table measure. Let us create the new measure. Let me name it as previous month orders we have calculated, returns we have calculated. Now we need to come up with the profit, that is revenue minus cost, right? So again, we should make the use of calculate function. We will be calculating our expression, that is the total profit that we have already calculated. And now we will be going forward with this date add function. First of all, we have to pass on that specific value, first parameter, that is date. Then the second parameter that we need to pass is going to be my number of intervals, right? So -1 I will be passing over here. And then I will be going forward with month by month. Right, so this will be giving me the insight month by month. Let us create it. Let us drag it and drop it. And now previous month profit, drag it and drop it, right? Yeah, this value you are able to see that again, we need to bring in some changes in the format. Keep it in dollars format. and then assign the number of decimal places as 0. Right? So we're done with this as well. Let us move forward with our next key objective, and that is to come up with the order target, right? So order target 10% increase over the previous month. So 1.1 we have to multiply with respect to previous month value so that we will be able to come up with this target profit, right? Order target. So let us quickly create the new measure over here. Let me create a new measure. Let me name it as order measure, right? Or let us name it as order target. So order target is going to be my total previous month orders, and that multiplied by 1.1. Okay, for this as well, again, go forward with this formatting over here that you don't really need to put in these formatting again and again. And then keep the decimal places as 0. This comma you should always put from your side. And this comma always make sure that with respect to each and every single specific value, the values are getting properly separated. So that you will get to know where is the lakhs, where is thousand, where is hundreds, right? So each and every single value you will be able to see properly formatted. So let us see our order target as well. Let me just make it in a broader way. So what was our order target and what is the uh, orders we were getting? Okay, this order target shouldn't be in rupees, right? We shouldn't be keeping it in rupees. That is one thing. It should be in whole number format itself, right? That is fine. Okay, so we are done with the order target. Let us move forward with the next key objective, that is to come up with the profit target. Again, the same kind of criteria we need to come up with. Let us go forward with clicking on table measure. Let me create my new measure over here. Let me create the profit target by multiplying the measure, that is total profit, with respect to 1.1, right? Not exactly total profit. One thing you are missing over here, and that is previous month profit, right? So this kind of confusion you can always make from your side if you are not exactly looking upon these kind of measures that you have to create. As in this specific case, we have to come up with a profit target, and profit target is being evaluated by the company in terms of that what was the previous month profit you were getting, and as per that you need to take the 10% of it. So an 10% increase you want, right? So 10% increase is because you want in the next month. So that's why if in order to come up with the 10% increase, you need to multiply that specific value with respect to 110 by 100, right? That's exactly how you used to come up with the increase in profit, right? So 110 by 100 is ultimately going to be 1.1 itself. So that's why we are multiplying with 1.1. So let us multiply our previous month profit with respect to 1.1, and let us calculate this profit target, right? So in this case, you have to keep it in a dollars format just because you're coming up with the profit, right? So it's going to be in currency format and keep the decimal places as 0. Now we're done with this profit target as well, right? So what was the previous month profit and what was the previous, what was the profit target? So you can see that somewhat a kind of bit close profit. So what was the profit the company was expecting up to? So similar to that specific profit, we are getting a value that is a bit closer to it, right? So companies somewhat getting into profit. Definitely 10% of profit they are not able to earn in some specific scenarios, but but somewhat closer to what they are expecting they are able to get, right? So this insight you can again deliver. And our last objective that was asking us with the 90 days rolling profit. So the final function that we were discussing about, that is dates in period that we need to make the use of over here, right? Let us quickly go into that. Table measure, new measure. You have to name your measure as 90 days rolling profit, right? So if you want to, you can refer to the 10 days rolling profit formula as well. That is completely up to you. But let us simply go forward with this formula again, so that again you will have a kind of quick hands-on on it. So calculate function will be calculating the total profit as the measure, right? And then we need to make the use of dates in between, dates and periods, sorry. And now the first parameter I will be passing is going to be that specific column. So you can see over here itself, first of all, you have to pass on the dates. So dates is going to be in my calendar lookup table, date column. Then start date you have to specify. So start date is going to be your max date that you need to specify from your side, right? So max is going to be again that specific column value itself. Right? And then just because I'm interested in now they're asking us that what exactly should be our next parameter, and that is going to be the number of days in which you are interested in. So just because I'm interested in the previous 90 days, so I will be putting minus 90. So minus accounts for the previous days, and 90 is the number of days I'm quite interested in. And then just because I need to go day by day, so the last parameter I will be passing on over here is going to be day itself, right? And let us close these brackets. We are done with this formula. Let us see these insights, right? We have already shown it to you with respect to 10 days rolling revenue, right? It's just the difference is going to be there in the measurement you are putting over here. And what is the number of days you are putting over here? The rest of the things are quite the same, right? Okay, let me just create a new matrix altogether to show this specific detail as well, right? So in this specific matrix, we can go row by row. So in my rows, I will be showing you the calendar lookup table, date information, right? And in the value section, you will be able to see your complete 90 days rolling profit. Again, some changes you have to make. You need to come up with the proper formatting for 90 days rolling profit. Let us make those changes. Keep it in currency format. Keep the decimal places as 0. So now this profit that you can see on the screen, these values will be getting evaluated in terms of 90 days. So max date is going to be this 90 days period itself, and then you will be able to see that what was the profit you were earning, right? So all of these insights you can get up to if you are going forward with this last function, that is dates in period, right? So these insights are quite important. Again, you can refer to that example that we were discussing about, and that is regarding the player statistics. So this, if you want to come up with the dashboard, like a IPL dashboard or a cricket players dashboard or World Cup insights dashboard or any player stats dashboard, then definitely taking into account these time intelligence function is quite important, right? So this was our last assignment from this section, and we are done with all of the assignments, all of the theories, or all of the practical implementation belonging to this specific section itself. So finally, we are completely done with our DAX formulas, DAX functions, and now from the next video onwards, we will be finally getting started with our most important section, and that is building a dashboard, right? So in the next section, we will be actually looking into that how we are able to deliver these dashboards, or how exactly we can deliver these insights into these dashboards so that we can communicate these results to the stakeholders. So to a company manager, to a stakeholder, if I want to simply deliver these insights, then how these insights can be delivered by building a proper dashboard. And that is what we used to show to the stakeholders. As these insights, we mostly don't show to the stakeholders that we are calculating up till now, or model building part. At the end of the day, we are going to show these dashboards only, right? and how we can come up with these dashboards, that we are going to discuss in the next video onwards. And let us meet in the next video with our new section getting started. And that would be all from DAX calculations. So thank you for your time.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to see more, explore our channel for all our videos.